Growing up, I never particularly cared for worldly affairs. All of the infighting never made much sense to me, really. Humans are a species reliant on one another. If you were alone as an early primate, you went hungry for the night. The callous competition we originate from bred hatred and animosity as a means for survival. Traits like this never get expunged, they simply take different forms. This is my farm, our excess food can be fed to plump the cattle, you're not getting any. That hardened outer shell, the misguided concentration, all of this nonsense is really starting to aggravate me. Our instinctual desires can be interpreted as things our genes determine as favourable for their own purpose, to reproduce. Sigmund Freud thinks that desires are repressed during childhood but still underpin a lot of our modern day decision making. He also thought that... What? Why is it doing that? Sigmund Freud believed that the... Fucking... Fine. No more Freud. Humans, animals, plants. Life is nothing but what the gene orders it to be. Its own apathetic and indifferent desire to be perpetuated, using all of us as its vehicle without rest. A thirsty mule crossing the desert. Nothing of what we do matters. Nothing of what we enjoy matters. The gene rules all, and it does not care for our well-being, provided we fulfill our purpose. Well, to that, I would say, fuck you. Humans have a particularly unique condition relative to the animal kingdom because we are the first species we know of to punch our genes in the balls and call the shots at least once. Do a fucking push-up. If our gene's only purpose is to be procreated, we are the first ever beings to outmaneuver our genome and do whatever the fuck we want to do, no matter what they dictate. Stay with me now. Let's say there was a man in front of you who, if given $10, with 100% certainty has his life saved from a terminal illness. He was not related to you, nor would you ever see him again. Would you give the $10 to save his life? The choice may seem obvious, but just think about it for a second. There is no conceivable reason as to why it would be beneficial from our gene's perspective to be kind to somebody outside our tribe. Being altruistic to your child, okay, well your genes are perpetuated through them, so it makes sense. Being kind to your tribe? Well, if they have a higher chance of living, so do you, because humans hunt in groups. It makes sense. So why the fuck do we have the tendency to be nice with no inherent reward, to those with no familial ties to us whom we may never meet again? Well, for the insurmountable benefits our genes get from building a capacity for learning in us, it meant that one day, in extremely exceptional circumstances and infinitely low odds, we could learn to outgrow our biological wiring. I mean, who else to act in rebellion against God than us? Richard Dawkins makes the analogy of our genes being the policymakers and our brains being the executives. Genes cannot make day-to-day decisions in a quick manner, which is obviously necessary in a natural, hostile environment. As a result, they leave that to the brain. But the overarching rules that determine our desires and innate tendencies are governed by our genes. They might have fucked up, though. Our genes might have made our brains a little too big. Now you have humans actively defying the inherent selfishness our genome possesses by being kind and generous to those who aren't even related to us. How fucking cool is that? The invisible tyrant thwarted by the indomitable spirit. No one can fucking tell us what to do, not even our own fucking biology. Humans beat death in a fist fight? Well, we've beaten our genes in one. All we need is a 6-week training camp and some magic juice, and we're there. Hey humans, some ground rules before we get started. First, you have to want to survive. Second, you need to want to eat and shit. Third, you have to try to get bitches. Fourth, be selfish unless to your children or tribe. Yeah, well, nobody tells me what to do. Fuck you, Gene. I'm gonna be loving and kind to everybody, even if it hinders me. I'm gonna fast even though I'm hungry. I'm gonna specifically remain a virgin only because you told me to get laid. Only for that reason. I could obviously have sex if I want to do, I'm just being defiant. Why are you...
He thinks he's...
Stop.
He thinks we believe him.
Stop laughing, I'm being serious. We are the only species to have undone some of the intricate programming that took DNA billions of years to get right. We help each other for no intrinsic benefit of our own. We embrace suffering in spite of how it makes us feel. For those of you watching who are loving and kind to people, know that you have done something miraculous by evolving past your programming and elevating above your geneticism. We are all, in a way, enlightened like the Buddha, but only in a way that is at arms with our biology and what the universe commanded. The only organism in the fucking galaxy with the miracle of willpower. The superpower every one of us has, and it's seated beneath the eyes. Unfortunately, though, there might be good reason for us to remain humble for a little while. There's always got to be one parade rainer, one party pooper, one... What's another term for party pooper? There's one... What the fuck is the term? Her name is Death. I think it's fairly reasonable to say that every action we take, every choice, every decision is tethered to an ancient and unrelenting fear of death. Yeah, this is going to be a fun section. Nature has no patience for creatures indifferent to their own survival, for they would have no incentive to persist at all costs. Evolution sculpts only those who fight, those who cling, who refuse to slip quietly into the void. As a result, you'll find yourself subconsciously recoiling at the idea of starving or of freezing, so you'll go out for dinner and set the heater on for when you get home. A constant reminder of what awaits us if we stop resisting. A fortunately unfortunate condition modern humans have found themselves in is that a majority of us have the primordial causes of death fended off with a wooden stick. Access to clean drinking water, food, shelter, and safety. We find ourselves as a species out of our element now. That element being an environment of scarcity, danger, and hostility. When the static of primal need and instinct fades into the background, another sound emerges. The abyss starts to whisper on the back of your neck, becoming increasingly louder the quieter the other sounds become. She will whisper a reminder of the imminence of our deaths, irrespective of the measures we take to avoid it. The prospect that all we have ever known will be erased, while there will be a whole world after us operating indifferently, as though we never were. They will know things we will never know. They will experience what we never will. By the apathetic law of the universe and entropy, she is undefeatable, and eventually her whisper will become deafening. She is always near enough to remind you, just when you thought you forgot, that it's all for nothing. If this paradigm induces a line of thought akin to headbutting concrete until brain leaks out, as it does to the praying mantis narrating this script, I hope I can show you that it doesn't have to feel like this forever. I would like to introduce you to this handsome hunk of a man, Epicurus. He was an excellent Greek thinker, as they always are. Why are they always Greek? He subscribed to the school of thought that death was total annihilation and that there was no afterlife or spiritual destination for us. This, at least for me, is the most terrifying prospect for life after death, as I'm sure it is for most of you. But somehow his thought process on death is one of the most comforting to me, and could be to you too. He was responsible for an infinitely iconic quote which sets my heart at ease every time I read it. Death does not concern us, because as long as we exist, death is not here, and once it does come, we no longer exist. It may not seem like much at first glance, but it might be worth letting that quote linger in your mind for a little while longer. If death is the great erasure as Epicurus thought, the void without witness, the foreboding meaninglessness that comes after will not be experienced by us in the first place, akin to a blind man being afraid of seeing a bear. As hard as it is to conceptualize, I would really like you to know that it will be okay, regardless of what might be true. We are all going to die, and that makes us the fortunate ones. Most will never know the privilege of death, for they were never granted the chance to live. The number of potential people who could have been reading this script in my place dwarfs the grains of every beach, the stars in the night sky, and the sum of all of those who have ever walked the earth. The possible combinations of DNA to make a person is astronomically larger than the number of all of those who have had the privilege to be born. As a result, among all those possibilities certainly would have been a mind twice as brilliant as Einstein, or a writer surpassing Shakespeare threefold. And yet, in spite of these inconceivable odds, here we are. You and I, in all our human ordinariness. The more you dwell on your differences with others, the faster the wondrous sky above passes over you. There's some poetry in the fact that when we look up, our mouths naturally open. So while we are here, while we are alive, we owe it to ourselves and the infinite might have beens to make the most of this improbable gift. How could we repudiate the inevitability of death, the prior state that most never got to escape from, even if only for a short while? In times the abyss rears her ugly head, it may be easier and more comfortable to settle to the subscription of a religious dogma and get on with things. The notion that a personal God who is omnibenevolent designed something so marvellous to act solely as our playground naturally alleviates the confusion and worry about what it's all for, which makes it particularly alluring to settle with. There is a stark difference between what feels good and truth value, though. The universe owes us no meaning or purpose if there is no conscious agent in control. It very well could be simply an indifferent chain of causes and effects. I am not denouncing the theistic paradigm. In fact, I actually encourage it. I am merely denouncing the pacifying of skepticism and the blind compliance to mysticism for things we don't quite understand yet. However painful it may seem, decidedly, we have not been given the lead in the cosmic drama. But neither has death. Theism may be true, it may not. Whatever the case may be, I implore you sincerely to not give up your freedom of inquiry and to never abandon your critical faculties. There are no final solutions. There are no absolute truths. It would be an unimaginable shame to suppress your curiosity and to stop asking questions. There is no end-all, be-all solution. So on behalf of all of those who have lived before, and all of those who didn't get the chance to in the first place, go and explore, and have fun while you're out there in the wilderness, wherever you are. Little note for the end of the video. If you are suffering with a fear of death, I've been there once. As a result, I know that there is always a route out. I have left some resources in the description that I've found useful in the past, or resources that I can vouch for anyway. I also have my Discord and email linked. Both ways you can reach out to me. I will do my absolute best to get back to all of you. You aren't alone in your line of thinking. There are hundreds here with you, and just know it does get better. Goodbye now.